Hey guys, how are you? I've missed you so much. It feels like it's been forever, but for you, of course, it's available all the time. But for me, I had a really busy week with my kids all being home for 10 days for March break, my parents coming to visit, and we had a few birthday celebrations, and it was just a week full of hockey and lots of different cafes and restaurants, and my kids love to play checkers and chess with my parents. So it was super sweet to see them play, and we played some board games. So it was great, a family time week. Now we're getting back to our regular schedule, and I am back to talking to you, and I love you all so much. So today's topic is how to tidy up your emotional self. So when you tidy up your kitchen, great. When you tidy up your body, when you have a shower, when you make makeup, put cream on, you're clean. When you tidy up your clothes, right? It all feels good. Now, I want to give you an example of how I tidy up my emotional self, okay? So here's what I mean is we can't move on with being happy and moving on with our life until we are honest with ourselves. So forget about being honest with others, but what if you were honest with yourself and that was the way to tidy up your emotions and your mental, spiritual self? For example, when you don't tidy up your emotions and your spiritual self, you feel like you're not happy because you are either avoiding what's going on for you emotionally, or you are distracting yourself from what's going on, or you're lying to yourself, or you're trying to change what's going on for you. And all of those scenarios, you don't feel really good. And you don't feel good, you're not accepting what's going on. And when you can't accept what's going on, you can't choose what you want instead. So before we can do any of that, like before we can make our kitchen beautiful with some flowers and clean counters and beautiful dishes, we have to clean it up, right? So the same thing here, before we can pick something that we want our emotions to be, before we can pick something that feels good, we need to clean up what's already there. The way I do that for myself is you don't even need to clean up and like get rid of your emotions. You just have to come clean and be honest with yourself. And it's super simple. Here's what I do when I tidy up my emotions is I just be really honest with myself and I tell myself what it is that I'm feeling. And then I become a detective of, okay, if I'm feeling sad, why am I feeling sad? And a lot of the times, it's really, the mind doesn't want to find it. It doesn't want to look at it. It's judging it, like, I shouldn't be sad. Life is great. Why are you sad? This is silly, right? Like, you're sad again, eye roll. Like, so it really doesn't want to look at it. It doesn't want to accept it. It doesn't want to deal with it. It's kind of fed up with it, right? So it is a job to actually just to come to terms with what's going on for you. Like, say if you're feeling sad, it is a task in itself to be honest with yourself, to say, I am feeling sad, and be okay with it. But to even name it, I am sad, you have to be honest with yourself. Otherwise, you're not going to name it, you're not going to look at it, you're not going to think about it, you're not going to spend time on it, right? So you're not going to be honest with yourself. So that's step one, is naming it. I first name it. Okay, how am I feeling? Then I ask myself, why am I feeling that way? And then the investigation starts. Because since I don't want to look at it, right? Then the second part of being honest is to ask why. And again, I will feel resistance to answering it. I don't want to look at this shit. I'm tired of this. I'm a life coach. How much longer can this take, right? Am I still human? Okay, fine. If I'm human, right, I'm going to have human emotions, all the range of emotions, and the negative 50% of life. And so then I'm faced with the part of life that is not pretty, And I have to come to terms with it and be honest again. And I have to kind of make peace with, okay, this is what we've got. Even though I don't want to be human, even though I think, okay, since I'm a life coach, I should not feel any human emotion. And, since I know the thought work, why am I still feeling sadness, right? So now you might be experiencing this similar resistance to mine, right? That, I've dealt with this already. Why is it coming up again? And this is very important to acknowledge that resistance and still clean it up. Clean it up as in be honest. And I don't even need you to throw it away, remember? Cleaning it up here is more like looking at it and putting it to the side. Like taking it off the counter, taking some dust off of it and putting it over here on the side counter and letting it be there. Because if we want to get rid of it, that means we still have judgment over it. That means we don't want it there. That means we are resisting it and we're not going to be really at peace with it. So that's not really tidy, right? Tidy is when you accept that, okay, this is part of my kitchen and like sadness is part of my human experience. Then you have access to make peace with it. Then you start to make space for the beautiful flowers on your counter. Then you start making space for the better feelings in your life. For example, you can feel peace over being sad. How cool is that, right? So you start out with sadness, then you work at being honest with yourself, naming it, and then you ask yourself, why am I feeling this way? You find out why. And that could be a thought. That could be any thought, right? You're like, oh, I feel sad because blah, blah, blah. It doesn't really matter as long as you actually find it. And then again, it takes processing to be okay with it. And then you have that feeling of sadness. And as a human, you are privileged to have a feeling about a feeling. So you can feel peace about being sad. Now notice how right away we feel better. We feel at peace about being sad. So we have a little bit more distance from being sad and now we feel peace. Now that is I call it emotional tidying up. And I have to do that often, especially when I feel backed up emotionally. And that might feel for you like you're overflowing with emotion or you're numbing kind of. You need time away from people. You need to process some emotion. You might be processing it well, or you might be distracting yourself by overeating, over drinking, over watching, whatever it is. And so if you are starting to behave in a way like you're thinking, oh, I need some attention, like what's going on for me? This is not normal. That could be a time for you to tidy up your emotions. And that only means, remember, that you are going to be honest with yourself. What am I feeling? Okay, let's name it. And sometimes it helps to write them down because you might have a few emotions at the same time. I'm sad and I'm frustrated and I'm pissed off and I'm tired, right? Whatever it is. Dump them all out on the paper, on the phone, whatever. Then identify the reason and that's it. That's it. That's all I want you to do. I want you to be okay with it. I guess there are 3 steps. Step number 1, name it. Name the emotion. Step number 2, name the reason for the emotion. So that will be your thought. Find the reason for that emotion for each one. So one would correspond with one. And then the third step, super important, would be to be okay with it. Find peace about it. How can you do that? That is also a process, right? And this is it. You don't have to change it. You don't have to feel better. You don't have to find a better feeling thought. You don't have to feel happier. All you have to do is just be okay with it. And so when you do that, you can then be able to move on and create better feelings. So I have to do that a lot before I record the podcast because I want to share with you something helpful. But if I am judging how I'm feeling and I don't have access to my wisdom, right? Then I'm like caught up in my own life and I don't have access to what I have to share with you. And so this is actually, once you do that, once you tidy up your feelings and you are okay with them, then you will have access to feel like you're good enough. Because you will then separate how you're feeling from you as a person. Because how you're feeling, like, no matter how shitty you're feeling, doesn't mean anything about you as a person. Okay? So once we separate the two, then you can feel like you're good enough. And then if you feel like you're good enough, then you can show up to your kids, to your family in a more loving way, because you're okay with being human. You believe that you're good enough and your emotions don't mean anything about you. Now that will have a really huge effect on how you show up for yourself and your people, because you're not going to be thinking that, oh, since I feel sad and overwhelmed and I can't manage it all, then that means I don't have my shit together, then I'm a terrible mom and I'm not a good person and I'm a mess and I should be happier and I should be better and I'm doing everything wrong, right? Notice how that will just have you spinning, overeating, fighting, all the things. So remember the 3 steps. To clean up your emotional mind is you have to, first of all, name the feeling. What are you feeling? And then you can, second thing, you need to ask yourself why you're feeling that. And the third thing, you have to be okay with it. That, in other words, you can make peace with it. You can accept it, whatever word resonates with you. But I like to think I'm okay with this. I feel sad because of blah, 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 and I'm okay with this. Now that will really, really clean everything up. You can be honest with yourself, and then you can take better care of yourself, right? Say if you're really, really tired or really, really sad, maybe you need to have a good cry. Maybe you need to talk to someone. Maybe you need to vent to someone. Maybe you need to something, whatever it is that you need, then you can address it, right? If you're honest with yourself. If you don't know what's going on with you, how are you going to take care of yourself, right? Same thing that you do with your kids when you ask them how they're feeling, what is it their need. The same thing is available for you to do for yourself first before you do this for anyone else. All right, guys, I think you got the point. Of course, if you need any help with any of your emotions or thoughts and how to create better relationships with your boys, with your boy, with anyone in your life, really, because if it's showing up with you in one relationship, it will show up in a different one as well. So you can always find me on my website, which is www.coachingnatalia.com, and book a free session where you can tell me everything that's bothering you and I can tell you how I can help you. And coaching can really take all this work to a whole other level, because we'll be able to address your thoughts about all of this, which really then starts to impact your life. Then you can really change your life, because you will be able to take a look at your thoughts and feelings from outside of you. And once you have that new perspective on what you're doing, then you have that aha moment, and then you just change it automatically. Sometimes it takes a bit longer. Sometimes just looking at it from the outside can give you that perspective. All right, guys, love you all so much. Have a great week. Bye.